Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. Today is the Board of County Commission meeting and our regular meeting, our Port Authority. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. I will call this meeting to order, and the invocation this morning be led by Ms. Peters with the Keys of Authority Ministry, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Terry Turner. All rise if you're able to do so.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we commit this meeting to you. We invite you to come and reveal your will in every aspect of our county. And as county affairs are discussed, we ask for your will to be done. As 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 and 2 says, pray for those in authority. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceable and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. We are praying for our commissioners this morning. All that is done, direct all thoughts, words, discussions, and actions toward the right path, and help all to stay on track. Let your will be done as plans and decisions are made. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Peters. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Next item on our agenda is our approval of minutes. Before we get there, we know it's hot. Julianne is in charge of air conditioning. She's working on it. So, just want to give her the accolades where it's due. So, no, she's working on it. So we know it's not very comfortable, but we should have that done pretty soon. So the next item is approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple typo changes to make. On page 9 of the minutes of our package, which is page 5 of 17, first paragraph should say Commissioner Wilkinson. It just says Commissioner. And then further on page 11 of 17, which is page 15 of our packet, fine reduction, it just says Commissioner Adam, so it needs to say Adam Zach. So just a couple typos, but with those changes, and I apologize I didn't get those to you sooner. With those changes, I move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilkinson. Minutes are approved as amended, and they will be corrected. So any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're going to recess the Board of County Commission meeting, go into the Port Authority meeting, and the first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the Port Authority.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the minutes for the Port Authority dated August 13th, 2024.
Second.
The proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is administration letter of intent. Mr. Suggs, do you have that?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have the Port Manager, Mr. Sam Sullivan, address that.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Sullivan.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you?
Can't hardly hear you.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you?
Go ahead.
I'm here standing before you to discuss a letter of intent that was offered to us by the Douglas law firm representing NIS, which is National Industrial Services, regarding a lease of part of the property that used to be known belong to Georgia Pacific, which we call the Port Annex. What we are asking for you today is to accept the presented LOI and to authorize staff and the county attorney to work with the petitioner to draft a lease agreement for the property.
Okay. So this is a portion of the port that the 8.7 acres, is that correct?
Something to that effect, 8.7 of the close to 16 acres, the northern part.
The property we bought from Georgia Pacific across the road.
Yes, sir.
My only concern on that was the fact that the northwest, and I talked to you about that, the ingress and egress over there, that gate, if we need it, because we are using some of that property for a lay-down yard when the dredging does take place. So I was concerned about that.
That would be a discussion we would have, staff and the county attorney would have with the petitioner during the lease agreement drafting.
And also the repairs on the building, we talked about that, on that old Georgia Pacific building needs to be updated. And I think what the county is doing under that lease, I think the person leasing it can easily fit that into their financial schedule to fix that.
That would be
you.
discussed as well.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Sullivan?
My only question would be, did we, the light doesn't work today.
No, it just has.
Would be, did y'all get everything in there that you needed? Rich, did you get everything in there that the changes you wanted made and that's in this copy?
Yes, sir.
And you too, Mr. Suggs?
Yes, sir, I believe we did, and there was a couple of the comments here this morning that I've already met with Mr. Douglas on, that we were going to work through some of those and bring back a lease agreeable to both parties, in the very
Chairman, I
near
move
future.
approval.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment on Port Authority items only? At this point, Port Authority items. Any public comment going once? And that's it. Good, thank you. Any general discussion amongst board members on Port Authority? Mr.
Yeah, I
Adams?
just have a comment. I'm glad that this worked out the way that it did with them leasing this other property, because they didn't really need the port front the same as the shipbuilder did. And they kind of was competitive, options for that other building. So this allows us to do some economic development with both groups.
Yeah.
And move forward. So I appreciate that the board is willing to do that and the Port Authority is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Any further discussion? Okay, we're going to end the Port Authority and reconvene the Board of County Commission meeting. And our first presentation, Commissioner Wilkinson, proclamation for Patriot Day and a day of prayer and service. JR, if you'll invite everybody down.
Chief, Lieutenant Tibbs, come on. Katie, Captain Harper, and Chief Lato.
I see some of them are shaking their head back there. They don't want to. Danny, come on down. Y'all come on. No? Okay.
Now I know why this microphone is so hard for people.
No.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Putnam County Proclamation Number 2024-085, Patriot Day and a day of prayer, service, and remembrance. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, the American people endured with courage and heroism the worst attack on U.S. soil in the nation's history. And whereas in response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of patriotism and unity and carried out countless acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion. And whereas community organizations and family members of 9/11 victims began observing the anniversary of September 11th as a charitable service day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response to the tragedy, including law enforcement officers, first responders, and volunteers. And whereas Putnam County has many brave men and women serving our county who heroically, tirelessly, and courageously put their own well-being at risk in difficult, stressful, and other dangerous situations. And whereas Putnam County has the Awakening American Alliance, Cry Out America, has called people to gather for prayer, and historic leaders who have called for periods of prayer for our nation and God, has called his people to observe solemn assemblies for generations. And whereas the solemn assembly is a day of restraint, where religious and political leaders gather in a serious nature to bring their petition and prayer to God. And whereas God has promised in the Bible, in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 14 through 15, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Now mine eyes shall be open, and my ears attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners that September 11th is hereby recognized as Patriot Day and a day of prayer, service, and remembrance for the victims of the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001 in Putnam County, and its citizens are called upon to honor the lives and memories of those lost through participation in community service and remembrance ceremonies on this day and throughout the year. Be it further proclaimed that the citizens of Putnam County are urged to show their support and appreciation of our local heroes, including law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, first responders, and volunteers of Putnam County who give of themselves to protect and serve their communities. Thus proclaim this 10th day of September 24. Mr. Chair, I move approval of this proclamation.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, the ayes have it.
Good morning, and thank you all. Obviously, tomorrow is 9/11, so we'll be having our ceremony. Will be starts at 9:50 at the front at the amphitheater. Weather should be maybe an issue, but we have big tents this year, so we invite everyone, all of you, of course, and the public. If anybody wants to be there, we very much appreciate it. Thank you.
And Commissioners, in front of your desk are the Patriot Day proclamation that was just read, and your part if you can make it. And we look forward to seeing everyone there tomorrow morning. JR?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for your time this morning. It'll be a great day. It always turns out very well. These guys put on a great presentation to remember those that had fallen on September 11th of 2001. That's one of the days that everybody can remember what they were doing, where we're at. It changed America. It doesn't matter how bad things get. If everybody could live like the day of September the 12th, for those of us that remember that, I mean, that was one day when our entire country was unified. It was a great day. These guys out here that are on the streets every day, all the credit they get. They work hard every single day. 17,000 plus calls a year ran in Putnam County, and that's a heavy lift every single day. And they do a phenomenal job doing it. So I'm so very proud of each and every one of them. The ones that are here, the ones that aren't here this morning. Please show up tomorrow as you can. It starts at 9:50. Reverend Flagg mentioned this morning they're going to do the same thing they've always done at Mount Tabor tomorrow evening. Reverend Flagg, what time was that? 7:00 p.m. tomorrow at Mount Tabor. They always do such a great recognition of the first responders. Usually have some great speakers come in. So, and I'm sure there's other ones around the community tomorrow. Ms. Peters, I think, comes in tomorrow.
Would you please repeat that on to everybody?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow, First Baptist downtown on Oak Street, 12 to 1. 12 to 1, they'll have multiple pastors inside the community down there praying for the first responders. So any presence would absolutely be, guys, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. All right. Wait, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere.
Morning, sir. How are you? Good morning. Thank you. Morning, Chief.
Earl,
Can we get some on this side? So
Thank
it's
you,
not
sir.
so
Like you
lopsided?
ready to pitch into there too, Chief?
thank you.
Scooch down a little bit. There we go.
That's a good spot right there. I know, they didn't want to come, but
They are. Why don't you get up on the steps so that they can?
There you go. Make it a quiet spot.
today, yeah.
All right.
All right, everybody, get ready. Smiles, everybody.
Took so long, my camera went off.
Ooh,
Okay.
I know that's hard, but you can.
3, 2, 1. All right.
Hurry up. Hard for me to smile that long.
Dying. I stand corrected. The air falls under J.R. Grimes's authority and not Julianne. So it's coming close to being operational. Thank you very much, Commissioner Wilkins. You did a fabulous job in that proclamation. And thank you to our first responders. Sam?
I'm here for the next item, sir.
Yes. The next item is Dr. Dan Dorte. I'm going to mess it up. So with
Mr.
Putnam County
Mr. Doherty is commuting from Winter Park. My email does not refresh in this room, be associated with the air conditioning. We do not know if he's en route, if he's been delayed for some reason, so I would suggest that we skip at this time, and when Dr. Duarte arrives, you
Just
can...
let me know when he arrives, and we'll try to fit it right in, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes. All right, the next item on our agenda is our Planning and Develop public hearing. Greg Kimball, ordinance 2024-018, page 44 in your packet. Jennifer, do you have that? Paul, your light's on. Thank you, sir.
Surprised it works. None of ours do. You're special if you want. I didn't mean that.
You ready?
I'm ready. Good morning, everyone. For the record, Jennifer Cassell, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment from residential manufactured home park and commercial general C3 and residential 2 R2 to plan unit development PUD. The applicant is Greg Kimball. This is a 15.94 acre parcel located at 1488 State Road 20 in Interlochen. This is second and final hearing. The applicant is seeking approval for the purpose of establishing an overnight recreation park consisting of up to 130 RV sites, no more than 2 caretaker residences, 10 primitive camping sites, and a bathhouse. During the BOCC meeting, commissioners expressed concern about 56th Avenue being used for access and the accessory structures caretaker residences. The applicant added to the development agreement that only a storage shed will be allowed at the caretaker residences and that the entrance or exit will not be permissible using 56th Avenue. How it will be blocked off is to be determined RC. Should this PUD be approved, the applicant will then submit to Development Review Committee to specify additional development requirements. As it pertains to this property, the DRC will ensure the placement of the RV lots is acceptable based on the development agreement, and the Florida Department of Health will review the plans for potable water and sanitary sewer. Your aerial view, future land use, zoning, conceptual plan. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from residential manufactured home park and commercial general C3 and residential 2 R2 to plan unit development. With staff proposed development agreement, the request is consistent with the requirements for PUD zoning, consistent with the future land use designation, and consistent with other comprehensive plans, goals, objectives, and policies. At the scheduled public hearing on June 12, 2024, the Planning Commission recommended approval. Questions?
Any questions? All right, seeing none, is the applicant here?
The applicant is here.
Would you like to speak? Okay. Is there any other public comments, either for or against this project? This is a public hearing. Either for or against. Seeing no one come up, we'll close the public portion of that meeting. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Second.
Proper motion to move approval on the rezoning PUD 24-00005, Greg Kimball, ordinance 2024-018. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And you're doing a great job out there, by the way. Okay. Next item is our MSBU public hearing. This is on page 85. Tony, do you have that, or is that, who's got that?
Mr. Chairman, these are the same rates that we've already seen before. It's just that we have to have a public hearing because one of the many MSBU's went up in value. So would you, if you don't mind, would you just ask for any public
Okay.
input on it? I don't need to hear any further.
Is there any
unless y'all
public
have-
input on the MSBU rates that are posted? Please come up and state your name and address for the record. And ma'am, if you could get in line, come on up. We'll get to you in just a second.
Terry?
If you will, just come up and state your name and address and what MSBU you're associated with.
Okay. It's an empty lot. My name is Elijah Laurie. It's an empty lot that haven't been developed. And
What's your address, sir?
hold on.
Sir, would you like to give somebody else the floor while you gather
Yes.
your information?
Yes.
Okay. Next speaker,
This Terry?
and we're going to give you 3 minutes to speak, okay?
You'll be fine, Terry.
Terry Sorrell, I live at 112 Breezeway Avenue, Satsuma. Our MSBU, it went down. It was $302.88. Well, it went down to 2 something. Well, I don't know if I'm able to talk about the complaints. We're not getting roads done. Nothing's done. When I called Tony about ditch cleaning, June 5th, nothing's been done about the ditch cleaning. Mowing got done in August when I called. The roads got grass growing in the middle of the roads. Our roads look like pig trails. We're paying a lot of money for MSBU to get nothing done. So that's my complaint.
May I come?
Yes, you may,
Ms.
Commissioner.
Terry, in all fairness, have you scheduled any kind of time with Tony, or you have?
I call him. I haven't talked to him in, I guess it was June 5th when I called.
Okay. And
And
how
I
did that
haven't
go?
heard, I think he called me, I don't know if he called me back. All he's interested in is doing something about the ditches, putting drainage in. Well, we pay $3,000 to have our roads graded. We don't have a lot of money. I'm concerned about the ditches. It's got trees growing in them, bushes, the water's not able to drain, but we need the vegetation taken out of the ditches. And then we only got 3 roads that needs ditches cleaned.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Turner, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, please. One of the reasons that we didn't drop that down more than this year than what we did was because where they would have money to do some of the repairs that you're talking about, that they just didn't have the money to complete this year. So I've talked to Tony about this some in depth when we were talking about, because I was wanting to bring it back down to $200 a year instead of $300 where it is right now, but he convinced me otherwise because he needs that extra money this year to do these additional repairs that y'all are requesting. He can't spend the money if he doesn't have it in your account.
Well, if he can't get culverts put in or anything like that, why can't we get our ditches cleaned? 3 roads need ditches cleaned. I can't get mowing done.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but what I'm saying is he can spend the money that you have in your account. I don't know what your account balance is, but each one of those MSBU's have their own fund balance
I
or
know.
their own
I
account.
know.
And so if the money's been depleted with other repairs throughout the year, whether it's grading or mowing or whatever the case may be, and I don't know that you're out, but if that's the case, he has to wait until the fund regains some
Well,
more
I
money.
understand
And then
that,
he can
but-
do it again. And that's the reason we only dropped it $10 this year, is to try to have more money in the fund to do some of these repairs that y'all are wanting in the area.
Well, in a year, it's only been mowed 1 time. I have not got the ditches cleaned in over a year. I don't know what the funds is. I've asked him to send me a copy. I can't get a copy of what the funds is in our account. I don't know what he's doing. He's concentrating on drainage. for culverts. Well, okay, that's gonna cost more money than what we got. So
Okay.
why can't we concentrate on cleaning these
So you
3
haven't
roads?
met, you haven't met with Tony since June?
No.
Okay.
I believe you will.
Tony, would you please put her on your agenda? And if it turns out
Oh,
that
there he
y'all
is,
can't
okay.
come, if y'all can't come together on this, one of y'all reach out to me, I'll come sit in with you in the meeting. But I believe that if you'll get with Tony, that your finances aren't secret. We'll be happy to show you anything you need to see when it comes to the MSBU finances. And he can explain to you what his plan is and what he's done and what he's trying to get accomplished in the future. I haven't seen him not try his best to work with
Okay.
anybody he
All right.
possibly can.
Okay,
So,
what about the road grading? The roads were like this, well, now they're like this, some of them.
well,
get one
he
vehicle
can
down.
talk with you about that
Okay.
and what further repairs that the MSBU can afford to do with the monies they have
Okay.
available in the fund.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Terry, Mr. Chairman, may I have just 1 second, please?
Yes, you may. Who's the gentleman that you want? Who's the gentleman sitting right there? In the same MSBU?
He put in a card, he said.
Oh, okay.
Miss Ashley, do you have any
Thank you.
cards for this?
Call
for
you
this
when?
Subject matter?
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, hang on just a second. I promised that gentleman behind you there, if he, come on up and state your name and address, okay?
I thought you was talking about where the empty lot. My address is Elijah Laurie. It's 2509 Westover Drive.
Okay, good deal.
Okay. And what I was concerned about was the ILE Boulevard.
Yes, sir?
Okay. It says benefit, but I have no benefits. They paved, and when it got to the curve, not where my lot and stuff is, and it's going up for $55. Is there a good reason?
Yes, sir. I'm going to let Mr. Adamsack approach that,
All right.
but we are trying to do paving inside of an MSBU, which has been unheard of in the past.
Right.
So we've been doing that to get people moving
Okay.
out as quick as we can, but we can't when you're talking the amount of money per mile. But Mr. Adamsack will explain a
Yeah,
little bit.
so the paving had nothing to do with your MSBU fee. That was something I did in the dirt to pave money.
Oh, okay.
So the MSBU money is for the grading and other things. So if you go in Martha Lane, some of those areas, we fixed a lot of different places in there. The goal is to get a route for emergency services, the sheriff's office, the school district that goes from Interlochen Boulevard down Dawn and then out Lady Slipper as the main route. Hopefully that gets paved. I'm out of the seat in November, so hopefully the next commissioner continues with that plan. I can't say whether you will or not, but that is separate from the MSBU fee. The reason we raised the MSBU fee is because we ran out of materials the last 2 years, and we need more materials if we want to continue to fix the potholes and
Okay.
continue to keep that whole MSBU as a whole, which is all the roads. I mean, it goes from Cayuca all the way out past Martha, all those roads getting graded and getting the potholes fixed and stuff as best as we can. We ran out of materials, so this allows us to get more materials to keep that progress we've made up.
Okay, I understand.
And if you don't mind me saying, years ago, when the MSBU process started out there, it was a way for the citizens to get services that the county just could not provide. You got to imagine in my district, which is right beside Mr. Adams' I have over 300 miles of unpaved roads that are in the MSBU process. So it's a lot. So you can imagine back when I was a younger man, just recently married, 23 years old, we might have saw the road grader once or twice a year. And on Saturdays, we dragged bed springs on the road just to get, we did the best. We hauled the garbage up to the landfill too. But when we imposed those years ago, they were never indexed to be truly the cost of doing business. When you ran out of money, you ran out of money, and you had to wait for the next fiscal year to come along. Well, now we've been able to index these and say, okay, the cost of doing business is this now. So it's going to help you. And I think that yours is the only MSBU that went up in price.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more statement about
Yeah.
that. Ours was the only one that went down in the prior iteration. I think there was 2 that went down. So this is the first time it's gone up in over a decade for your particular MSBU, so.
But thank you for your comments.
All right, thank
Appreciate
you.
you very
All
much,
right.
sir. All right, next speaker, ma'am, please come up. Good morning. If you'll state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Danzler Curry, and I'm here about property 119 Ontario in Interlaken.
Okay.
I own several properties out there in Interlaken.
Can you
but
put
this
that
is
microphone closer to you?
This is the one that they sent me the letter for. Are they thinking about paving to go up on extra fees, or I think you kind of hit on it a little bit with the first gentleman. I'm not sure whether the fees went up or down on it. I just pay it because I've had it for a while. So what is the extra $25 fees? Because I'm out there, I can't even go out there on that particular property, I think it's about 2 acres, without taking my truck.
I
So,
think Mr.
mean,
Adams asked just to mention that, but he'll do it again if
Yeah.
you like.
Yeah, so basically when we did Martha and some of the roads leading out, and then from where we ended the paving in, we used all the material in those areas. And then also I can't remember the name of the road that comes in parallel to Interlochen Boulevard. We
Yeah.
fixed that where it dips down as well, so that there's a separate egress ingress. We ran out of materials for the stuff that the citizens were requesting. So we haven't really been able to do many projects in there now for several months.
Right.
So this increase has allowed us to do more projects. And we also were not part of the increase of the prior years that happened in all the other MSBU's.
So it's only supposed to be like an extra $25 fee?
Yeah, it's just an extra $25 to
Per
get
year.
more gravel, more sand, more whatever to fix the roads.
So it's for improvements?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And there is a monthly meeting that the MSBU's have at the community center out there.
okay,
And everybody, all of them from West Putnam meet at the same time
Okay.
in different rooms. So please avail yourself to go and be part of that, because that's where the citizens really, it's a citizens committee, and Tony oversees that, but it's really led by the citizens out there.
okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Who else would like to speak? Please. Again, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good morning. My name is Danny K. Moore. My address is 310 Interlochen Boulevard, and my complaint is about the same as the others that come forth. I received a letter saying they was going up $55 on my property.
$255. It's going to $55.
Going to 55?
From
Okay, I thought
from
they were-
2920 to 5543.
Okay,
And
my-
that's for the year, just, that's for the entire year. It's a one-time thing.
Yes, and my next question is, you started paving out on Interlochen Boulevard. I've been out there for 27 years.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, we very seldom see a grader, And now they paved maybe a mile of Interlochen Boulevard. They stopped like 3 or 4 blocks from my home. And I was just wondering, when would they continue that work out there on Interlochen Boulevard? Or is that in the,
Yeah, that'll be up to the next commissioner that takes my seat.
be up to the next?
Because that did not come out of this fee, that came out of dirt to pave.
Uh-huh.
So if he decides when he takes the seat that he wants to continue that project, that'll be at his discretion, not mine.
Okay. And
My plan was to continue, like I said to the first gentleman, to continue from Interlochen Boulevard, eventually get it all the way out to Dawn, and then eventually you go Interlochen Boulevard out to Martha to get that whole loop, but that's up to the next commissioner.
Okay, and also, Governor DeSantis, he awarded Putnam County $11 million for infrastructure, and I was wondering, how do y'all disperse that money, or where did it go? That's for the
I think you're
paving
talking
of
about the
roads,
water
right?
projects that we have. But let me assure you, we get state money. County Road 315 from 100 to 20, from 20 to 310, 310 to Marion County line. The state of Florida is paying $13 million to have that road resurfaced. So we get money from the state, but we don't get money for the interior roads like that unless we do a SCOP or scrap. But we usually use that for the large arterial roads, like I just said, because we had to pay $13.5 million. I don't know where we'd find that money to do that. And that's just one road. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Next speaker. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Leslie Wall. I'm on 145 Kingfish Avenue in Palatka. And I got a note in the mail that the neighbors can't build because they have a water
Okay,
Culver
that's not
easement.
about, this is,
This isn't it?
this is a different topic,
Jeez.
yeah. So just,
See, it's my time here.
You're
that's
so-
fine,
It'll
you're
be
fine.
coming up pretty
It'll be
soon.
coming up,
Oh,
so just
okay.
hang tight,
Do you
okay?
know what part it is,
Yes, sir, it's right,
number it is?
it's next, actually. It's, under Public Works, item 7 on the agenda.
7?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
no, you're fine,
fine.
you're fine, you're fine,
No
you're
wor-
fine.
no worries.
Next speaker, do we have another speaker?
Here we go.
All right. Thank you for running up here. Appreciate it very much.
Mickey Stewart, Interlochen, 1083 Old Gainesville Highway. My question is, who is doing that really some, I don't know if it's dirt to pavement or what it is, but who's doing that really neat wrap stuff that leaves like the hard top and takes care of the nasty sugar sand? It's awesome. Whoever is doing that, is
Say
that
that
MSBU or is that dirt to road?
Say that again?
Okay, there's this really neat product I'm seeing in some of the roads, primarily where the school buses have trouble. It's like
Millings?
this
Are you
wrap,
referring
I'm
to
going to call it
millings?
wrap, recycled
Millings.
asphalt product or something?
Yeah, the millings.
So who's doing that? MSBU or you?
No,
It's
actually,
just part of our regular maintenance from the county.
right. We've got some millings that were stored out there at Mary Wisham Park, and some are coming off of 315 and being worked on the north side. And when again, from 20 to 310, that'll be worked in that area. And then from 310 to Marion County, we don't know where those are going to go just yet. But yeah, I mean, we're using millings. But millings have a problem. Don't think that there's a solution because
Okay.
you got to still work them, and it's a job. So, yeah.
But I just noticed, I mean, now we're not getting stuck going from, the hard top to the, where the dirt roads are. It's, whatever it is, it's lovely. I just wanted
Thank
to put
you.
that out there.
Thank
Who is the guy I want to get a hold of with them?
Tony, raise
your Tony, hand. over
Who's
there.
Tony? You? Jolly good. I'll be in touch with him. Jolly good.
Good.
Thank you.
I don't think she's in a
I don't think so either. Anybody else want to
KT,
speak
that might be
about-
more for you, because I don't think she's in an MSBU.
Anybody else want to speak about MSBU's? Please come up. Hello. Are you an SBU? No.
Sent me a letter,
Oh, you got a piece of property in an MSBU.
right.
Yeah.
And I got plenty my name is Shirley Edwards, and I got plenty of property out there. But how did y'all go by picking one and raising my property to increase to 5543?
Okay, again, though, you own a piece of property in Interlochen Boulevard area, okay? And every lot gets assessed for that, for services provided. So that's where it's going from 2920
Right.
to 5543 a year,
Right.
okay? So more services should be coming your direction, okay?
So by me coming to the meeting, you're just gonna bring it down?
No, ma'am. No,
So,
but I mean, getting work done brings it down, yes.
but it's
And the
still in the
more-
letter. I talked to, I think, Tony.
Yes.
Come to the meeting and they and let them know that I'm not approved for that, and if y'all gonna bring it down, it's gonna be the same
Yeah.
price.
So basically, we meet with citizens every month, like was mentioned before, at the Interlochen Community Center. So anyone that has property in the MSBU can come and give their feedback. And a lot of what we've done out there, based on the feedback of the committee, or in this case, because the committee's not fully full, we need people to volunteer to come be appointed to the committee. And when they decide what projects they want to do, there's a cost to those that comes out of that money that's from that fee. We ran out of money because we did some really projects in there. I don't know if you've driven Martha, you couldn't use there was a pothole bigger than this step that was in 4 different places. Lady slipper, when you used to go around the corner, you literally, when it would rain, there was a ditch across the road that I walked in, at one point was up to my hips. So we fixed those things. That costs money. We have not raised yours in over a decade, and this is the first time it's been raised, and it's about $2 a month. The only way if we didn't do it, we wouldn't be able to do any of those projects that are happening in that community. So I'm going to vote yes for it because I think those projects are needed. But that's why we're doing it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, next on is our approval of the assessment roll.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the assessment rate changes as presented.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're going to take a 3-minute break. We're going to resume our meeting, our board meeting, and go into the Public Works request to vacate drainage easement Kingfish Avenue. Who's got that? JR, you got that?
Sure, but I'll let Mr. Stout do it.
Mr. Stout? Please state your name and title for the record.
JT Stout, Executive Director of Public Works, Putnam County. This is in the BOCC area, St. John's Harbor, I believe it's on Kingfish, and they're wanting to relocate the drainage easement from the center of the property to the southeast borderline of the property. So we won't be losing a drainage easement. We're just moving it so that if we need it for future use, then we've got it.
And the question I asked you was, is that moving going to work and moving that water?
Correct.
It will work.
Yes. We talked to the engineer. Everything's good to go.
Okay, Mr. Turner, you have the floor.
Is there any additional cost to the county for moving this drain from where it is to where it's going to be?
There might be minimal recording fees. That's it.
No, I meant the actual work on the ground.
Oh, we haven't done any work on it. It would only be done during dirt to
either
pave.
one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's undeveloped. The one that we're vacating is undeveloped.
So basically, you're just moving the what you're going to put in from one spot to another, so
Correct.
there's no additional cost.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think a huge component of this is the fact that the person who owns that property,
He's wanting to build. He
Wanting to
put two
build.
lots together,
Right.
so this runs right down the middle. I don't blame him
I'm
for wanting to.
okay as long as
Yeah.
there's no additional funds that the county's
Correct.
going to have to like rebuild a new easement
No, sir.
drainage somewhere else.
No, we're good to go.
I have no issues.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Stout? This is a public meeting, so the public is encouraged to come speak. And we have one blue card. If you will, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, it's Leslie Wall, and I'm at 145. I'm the neighboring property to this.
okay?
And I don't know what's involved in it. I don't know, is it just going to be where there's going to be standing water possibly? I'm not sure. Is there going to be a pipe under the ground? But I just built a brand-new home, and it's vacant. And on the opposite side of this property is also vacant, it looks like. I don't know why they'd want to put it right next to mine if that's going to, you know
Well,
what
I think you heard the reasoning was the person wants to combine the lots and build
Right.
there. And I understand that. I think everybody can understand.
Sure.
But Mr. Stout, would you like to give an explanation of that?
Yeah, so all we would do is an open swale to run down to the canal to get into the water. It'd probably be 10 feet wide on a 4-to-1 slope, so you're only looking at maybe a foot deep just to collect the water and run it down to where it's not in the road.
Something that could be mowed and maintained.
Oh, yeah.
Is it possible to
Yeah.
go to the opposite side because
Yeah.
it's vacant on that side and I got the new house? I didn't want any
No.
standing water for
Well, it's-
mosquitoes and all kinds.
Right,
think
so
you're
it
gonna
would,
s-
it would be running, not standing. It's not a retention swale. It would be a movement swale. And I can't, he wants it on that side for whatever reason, so that's the side we're going with.
And it does stay within his property boundaries.
Right. It's
So
on-
I don't have a say if it's vacant on the far side of his property
Well-
also that
I mean,
it would put right next
The,
to mine.
the item today is about moving that from the middle of his property to that side. And if it works for the drainage and it doesn't hold water and it's maintainable, I mean, I don't see the, I don't think it's gonna.
Okay,
And
I'm
plus,
just really concerned that I've seen so much standing water in these little things that the bugs.
well, ditches are supposed to hold water and move water, so they
Understood.
do both, so.
Thought
think you'll be
with it
happy
so
then.
vacant on the far
But
side.
right now, we're
also.
not doing anything with it.
No, you
So,
know, if that
right now, nothing, we're not doing anything there currently.
It was
so
just proposed, and I thought it could be
gonna-
proposed.
It
to
should
the far
enhance
side. I
that
didn't know
area
if it
more
made-
than it's gonna hurt. Yep.
Okay.
All right, good,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Francis Glasson?
Jackson?
I'm sorry. Gasson. I know you've been here.
My name's Francis Gasson. I live at 169 Bonita Drive. I'm Vice Chair of MSBU, St. John's Harbor, Unit 3. We, as a community member, we have come to the conclusion that this is great for this gentleman. Let's move it. The southeast corner, what he's talking about, it is lower in that area, so the drainage would go out faster. Public Works is correct in putting it in the southeast corner, but as long as that is moved, we don't have a problem, and
welcome to the neighborhood to this gentleman.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, any further comments on public hearing on this item? We're going to close the public hearing, and Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of Resolution 2024-088.
Second.
Proper motion. Do we need to read by title, Rich? Or, okay. Commissioner Wilkinson, will you include that in your title, in your motion?
Yeah, let me get there. Putnam County Resolution 2024-088, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners to vacate drainage easement in St. John's Harbor, Unit 3, in accordance with Section 336.09 of Florida statute. Continue reading? You got to read the whole thing?
I think we're good.
We're good.
We're good.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we have a proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're going to move up to our presentation. This is Dr. Dan Doherty. I messed that up, I know. This is the 2024 Putnam County Vulnerability Assessment.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Sam.
Sam Sullivan, Grants, Projects, Legislative Affairs, Support Manager. I'm proud to introduce you to Dr. Dan Doherty. He's from Balmoral Group. They conducted our vulnerability assessment that was funded by the state of Florida. And he's going to give you a brief summary of the findings and all that through his presentation. The entire document can be found online on our website under the Emergency Management tab for anybody who would be interested in looking at the entire document.
Mr. Sullivan, before you leave, who funded this?
Florida Department of Environmental Protection. We received a Grants for Resiliency Florida.
Good.
And,
Thank you.
Mr. Stephen Turnipseed was here from Emergency Management is also with us. And let me introduce you to Dan Doherty, Dr. Dan Doherty, who will give you a presentation.
Please come forward, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, members of the board, for having me here. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my... Did you put the slides on here somewhere?
Mr. Ritchie?
Oh, I see. Sorry about that.
There we go.
Just hidden. Okay, very good. So this is the vulnerability assessment we did, like Sam mentioned, funded by DEP, the Resilient Florida program. So the objective of this is essentially for you all to have another tool in the toolbox to build a more resilient Putnam County. And this study focuses just on flood risks, so it's different from your LMS, your local mitigation strategy that's looking at a variety of types of hazards. This is just focused on identifying and mapping flood risks throughout Putnam County and developing next steps for reducing those risks. So we've provided the county with a DEP compliant vulnerability assessment. DEP here sort of specifies the scope and has largely standardized these vulnerability assessments, so they're looking at things the same way. So you end up with a report, an online dashboard, and a bunch of kind of spatial data, GIS data that maps out critical assets and areas of flood risk throughout the county, looking at sea level rise, storm surge, and rainfall. Now and out into the future. 2040 and 2070 are sort of the specified future planning horizons that are required here. And this also, having this vulnerability assessment done makes the county eligible for future capital improvement, future implementation grant funds from DEP. So just want to say thank you to our steering committee who has served on this project and helping make sure we're paying attention to the right areas in the county and looking at the right data in the county. So thank you to this group here. So a little bit about the process, sort of how this comes together. Starting with flood modeling, we're essentially starting with digital elevation, so a land surface map, very sort of high resolution digital elevation model. We're overlaying water elevations with that, so we have 19 different flood scenarios, different combinations of rainfall, sea level rise, and storm surge, and combining that with our critical assets throughout the county. So DEP, by statute, has described certain types of assets that they describe as critical assets. water and wastewater, schools, airports, fire stations, waste disposal sites. So there's 37 different types of critical assets that are all mapped throughout the county, and we're basically tallying up flood depths at those locations. If there is flood depth, tallying those up and counting impacted assets throughout the county to give us a measure of flood risk. And ultimately, this is pointing to, what comes next. So your team at the county will be, figuring out, like they always do, figuring out the next kind of implementation projects here. So this is showing you all the different flood scenarios that went into this. Like I said, these are specified from DEP. So there's 5 different types of high tide flooding, sea level rise scenarios that go into this. And high tide here means 2 feet above your mean higher high water. So this is an unusually high tide that occurs maybe 3 or 4 times a year. You might hear it called king tide. So this is not your typical high tide. We're also looking at rainfall, 100-year, 500-year, and also your future version of those, to 2040 and 2070, 100-year and 500-year. I'll explain those in a minute, and a bunch of different combinations of storm surge, 25-year and 100-year storm surge combined with the various sea level rise scenarios. So just to give you a quick look at what those types of depths from sea level rise and storm surge sea level rise ranges from, looking at 2040 and 2070, it's about 0.7 of a foot up to over 3 feet of potential sea level rise. This is estimated out through 2040 coming from NOAA's sea level rise scenarios. These are the required scenarios that are used here. And your storm surge goes 25-year, going from about 4 to 7 feet, and about 5 to 9 feet for your 100-year storm surge values. So those are some of the sea level rise and surge scenarios coming into this. So this kicked off, a little bit about the timeline, this kicked off last November in convening with the steering committee, kind of getting acquainted, making sure we're paying attention to the right data in the county. There was a public workshop here in March of this year where we invited members of the community to show up and let us know some of their concerns. We had some maps around the room, and people were kind of putting sticking dots and marking up the maps for various known areas of flood risk. We came back together with the steering committee in June and then delivered the final report and all the data that goes with it back at the end of June. So I want to say a bit more about rainfall here and the rainfall projections. So your current 100-year, so on average should occur once every 100 years. Your current your one-day 100-year storm is about 10.6 inches per day, should occur about once every 100 years. The estimated future version of that in 2040 rises to about 13.9 based on some work from South Florida Water Management District and USGS looking at how rainfall has historically been changing and sort of intensifying. You're getting more big rains. And so you've maybe noticed that, and that's being captured here as well as we can on a county-wide scale. So we're using those elevated 2040, 2070 big rains as part of this risk assessment here to map that around the county. So just a few slides to kind of quickly run through the results. There's a lot of this on an online dashboard and also in the report that shows you, every critical asset and if there's some flood risk there or not. This is counting up flood-impacted critical assets throughout the county for 6 of, I showed you those 19 different flood scenarios. This is a selection of 6 of those from left to right, going 100-year rainfall, 2070 100-year rainfall, high tide in 2040. So this is a intermediate high 2040 sea level rise. Then 2070 intermediate high sea level rise, and then the same version of that, 2040 and 2070 with a 25-year storm surge. And you'll see these bars just indicate the number of critical assets flood impacted by those different scenarios. And in the transportation group, that's all your roadway segments. Not surprisingly, those are the biggest number of assets affected because it's the biggest number of assets in the county, just in terms of number of pieces of road, pieces of infrastructure out there. So you have, about 1,300 mostly roadway segments affected in your 100-year reign. That rises to over 1,400 in your 2070 version of that 100-year reign. And the next most affected asset type is, the group here is critical infrastructure. Most of those are stormwater ponds, locations of any type of stormwater infrastructure. So that's your next most kind of impacted asset that shows up there. So zooming in on a particular kind of risk, so your high tide floods, these are sunny day, potentially sunny day, 2040 king tide, high tide, so the 2 feet above mean high water. These are locations of, that's the northern portion of the county on the left, the southern portion of the county. Those dots indicate roadway segments with some non-zero amount of flood depth there. This is kind of what it looks like on the map. You see those shaded areas are, water elevations, water above land surface at those location of roads. So you see this is near Paradise Circle and Edgewater Road. So you see some of that flooding there. In working with the steering committee, early on we identified 30 potential focus areas. So these were existing LMS projects, other areas of known flood risk in the county. 10 of those emerged as high priority areas based on county input and also looking at the number of assets affected. Those show up here. Those are described in more detail in the vulnerability assessment. This doesn't mean you have to do anything in particular there. They got a little more attention, but of course it's up to the county, looking at all the data, which order those should go in, or if it should be one of these that's, not in a priority area. All of the data, so there's, I think, roughly 13,000 critical assets mapped throughout the county. All of those with their different flood depths, if they're flooded, are available in an online dashboard, so you can sort of click through, just see the schools for a particular flood scenario. You can see if any of those are affected. So it kind of just makes a whole bunch of data a bit more accessible there. So wrapping up here, how to use this study, just a few pointers on that your team at the county will be proceeding on with next step. So using some of this information to guide your local mitigation strategy and CIP project selection, avoiding new infrastructure in flood-impacted areas, so any land use decisions that might make sense to use this, supporting easements and acquisitions in locations of flood impacts. There is a possibility of community rating system credits for some of the work that went into this. That would be up to your floodplain manager to proceed with that. Stormwater and roadway improvement projects should maybe be considering some of this information. For example, where there's a resurfacing in some areas, should there also be a roadway elevation that's worked into that resurfacing plan. Any stormwater modeling that drains to tide, any of that's near the river, that's permitted what tailwater conditions you use, and that's not going to change for a while. There might be the county might want to alter that or work with your engineers who are doing that kind of modeling to make sure in 20 or 40 years that whatever's drained into tide will still work as planned. And ultimately, to pursue external funding, there's a lot of funding available here from Resilient Florida, from DEP, to support actual implementation projects, and this sort of ticks the box for that. So that'll be one of the next steps here we would expect. So again, thank you for having us do this work for you all and for having us here today. And I'm happy to answer any questions if I could.
Any questions? Commissioner Pickens, you have a question?
No, I appreciate all the different information, and definitely some of the areas of concern in District 1 are on there, which is East River or West River, and also Sportsman's Harbor. So, and speaking with Sam this morning, completing this does keep us, I guess, in line to be able to apply for different monies when we come up with projects to help mitigate some of this stuff. So thank you for the report.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Suggs, you have a comment?
Yes, sir, just a quick one, Mr. Jones. First of all, thank you so much for that.
I don't think your microphone.
Sorry, I thought I had my mic on. First of all, thank you for the presentation, and Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Turnipseed for their work on this. As you know, Mr. Chairman, yesterday you and I had the pleasure of meeting with Ms. Beth Payne from the Northeast Florida Regional Council, and one of the comments that was made yesterday was the amount of dollars that would be available for these type of grants moving forward, now that we have the study completed and the work done that shows where we need to be concentrating our efforts, here in Putnam County. So just want to say thank you again, and also to let Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Turnipseed know that that conversation did happen yesterday in my office with Northeast Florida Regional Council. So as we looking out there, reach out to Ms. Payne, Beth Payne with the council, to see what grants might be out there for us to take advantage of. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilkinson, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate the study. I just want to take this opportunity to put out there that we do have a problem occurring right now in Putnam County over from the East Pinile area over to Horseman's Club Road, and it's a huge problem, and the staff is doing everything they can to work on it. But as we go forward, so I'm putting this out to everyone and to the fellow commissioners, that's one area we really need to look at. I mean, Mud Lake is all the way out to Highway 19 right now. It's a huge problem. I drove through that community. People are pumping out their properties to not get water in their house, and that's happening right now, not in 2040 or 2070. So I think as we go forward, that's an area of concern that I have, and just letting staff know and administration know and future commissioners that that's an area we want to concentrate on. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
Well, I appreciate the report and appreciate the discussion, and maybe it'll help some with future funding for the county or whatever. Most of the issues that we're having right now aren't coming from this. They're coming from existing ditches and drainage vessels that are not clean, and we don't own them, so we can't clean them. So we're going to be those kind of issues all over the county from now forward, because there's no way of knowing if a tree has fell down and blocked a ditch on a private piece of property back in the woods until unfortunately the actual area starts flooding, and we try to, and then we understand, or a culvert has failed inside, but we haven't had enough rain to back the water up, so we get a big rain event and find out the culvert's bad. There's always going to be reactionary, defensive type work that the county has to do, and so I just want the people at home to understand that this has nothing, the flooding that's going on, as tragic as it is, has nothing to do with a default to the county. They jumped right on it as soon as they could, put down all other work there was to put down, and go out there and try to resolve those issues as quickly as possible. So, I just didn't want the people at home to think we were being critical of Public Works by this comment, because they've done everything they can do here to make this go away as fast as they possibly could, and I wanted to commend them on that as part of this.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Adams-Ack.
And specific to that, this isn't unique to today. This has been going on for a long time. So when it happened last time, it was about 2 years ago, where it flooded really bad off of that lake, and we actually got with Public Works Director time, which is not the current Public Works Director, and we started to get approvals to do stuff, and there was a landowner in the back of the lake that absolutely refused. She was blocking part of the problem. We did get that blockage removed, because they weren't allowed to block what they were blocking at that time. So who knows if that person and I don't know if that's something you're looking at, but at one point the guy actually put stones and concrete and everything else at outlet of the lake, which was flooding everyone upstream and our road. That got removed, so I don't know if that's still there or if someone possibly put it back. Hopefully we can make better progress with that particular landowner, or maybe that changed hands. But just like Commissioner Turner said, if a landowner in that path doesn't give us permission or access outside of potentially having a domain, we don't really have much say in it. So,
Well, a lot of times, if you remember in the past, the landowners actually took care of their own drainage issues and took care of things. That seems to be not the normal anymore, like it was back 40 years ago or what have you. So you're just running into these issues, and some landowners don't want you on their property. We've run into that multiple times, and I know we're getting in the weeds a little,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Well,
so
that's what
excuse me,
happened with
but
this one.
Well, we've had that happen multiple times, and out there at Hoot Owl Ridge, we had one that it took us almost a year to talk the landowner into giving us a TCE, a temporary construction easement, to go in there and fix a culvert that had failed on his property, but it was backing water up for 2 miles in a direction. I mean, seriously backing water
Over the
up.
road, yeah.
Yeah, we're at Hoot Owl, so yeah, this is definitely part of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And let me say, when you were giving your presentation, that's kind of been my thing for a long time, is we do have these drainage ditches, canals. Take, for example, Flora Home, who years and years ago did a drainage district to create farmland out there. And when we got $1 million water management grant to clean that out, found bags of concrete, found boulders in there. People wanted that water backed up for certain reasons. You know, I mean, you can't protect everybody against that. And what Commissioner Wilkinson said and Commissioner Adams and Turner, as a young boy, I remember going down certain roads around the Horsemen's Club, Davis Lake being one of them, you know, walking horses in the water. And I mean, so we don't see that often. We don't see that as much, but I do remember where water used to be, and it's not there now. And there's a home there now, you know, so I often think, what do we do here, you know, but we do have to clean out our interior stuff so it can make its way to the rivers and to where it's trying to get to. So, but I appreciate your presentation, all your work on this.
Thank you.
And we'll be looking forward to using this document into the future. So thank you very much. Next on our agenda is our SHIP public hearing. And administration, do you have that? Page 317 in your...
Yes, sir. Our grant administrator has included for you the fiscal year 21-22 State Housing Initiative SHIP reports, and a public hearing has to be held before we transmit to the state, and so it is just a formality at this time. It's been properly advertised and is before you today.
Okay, so we have a properly advertised meeting. You've heard the explanation. Is there any public comment on the SHIP State Housing Initiative Partnership report and transmittal to the state? Anybody would like to make a public comment on that? And seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a proper motion, proper seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. Public comment now on agenda items. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on the items of consent agenda items A through L? Anybody in the public would like to speak on items A through L? We'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Pickens, we'll start with you. Is there any items you'd like to pull?
I have none.
Commissioner Adamczak?
None.
None? Okay, Commissioner Turner?
I have none.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
I have none.
And I have none, so the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of consent agenda items A through L.
Second.
A proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion on the motion at hand? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Appointments, we'll start with you, Mr. Pickens.
I have none.
Mr. Adamczak?
I have none.
Mr. Turner?
I have none.
Ms. Wilkinson?
I have none.
And I have none. Going right down to new business. And Commissioner Adamczak, you have an item on the Bill of Rights Sanctuary County.
Yeah. Basically, we were, I don't know if Mr. Council, could I allow Mr. Council to come up and talk about it?
Mr. Counts?
Good morning. I'm Johnny Counts, 9470 Barrel Factory Road, Cracker Swamp, Florida.
Is Cracker Swamp really a township?
Absolutely. It's my own sovereign territory.
It's like Johnson.
Yes, sir. I've approached y'all, talked to y'all, sent y'all some information on this constitutional county resolution, ordinance, proposal, whatever we can get to bring it forward. But as you know, we've done a Second Amendment sanctuary just a couple of years back, and this is basically protecting our Bill of Rights, making the constitutional county let it be known that we are going to stand for the Constitution, that it is the law of the land, and that we're not going to allow our sovereignty as a county be overrun by the state or by, federal. So with what's gone on the past few years, we've seen how much has been affected in the Second Amendment as far as how much has been pressure has been put on that amendment since about 1934, I guess you could say, when it started. And we're seeing now a lot of our other amendments being attacked, and especially since we had the COVID episode with the emergency. It seems like an emergency is that's basically the call of the tyrant, I guess you could say. It's a way to have us give up some of our God-given rights to make way for the supposedly the public better. But Mr. Bill Mitchell here is with the state. He's overseeing it. We're trying to get Florida to become a constitutional state. And by getting all 67 counties to become constitutional counties, we can go forward with that. And a lot of counties all over the country did the Second Amendment, however you would want to put it there, as their sanctuary or resolution or an ordinance that they're a Second Amendment county. And so with that being, we like to see all of it done. And I believe I spoke at the county commission that we had here for the sanctuary for the Second Amendment and said we need to do it all. The Second Amendment was not enough. And anyway, I'd like to have Mr. Bill introduce himself, and he can tell you about how it's been going all over the state with the other counties.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to address you on an issue that's very close to my heart, which is the Constitution. Now, one of the things, would you like to know, state my name and where I'm from, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Bill Mitchell. I'm from Ormond Beach, and I'm at number 3 Sea Dunes Terrace in Ormond Beach. I basically travel all over the state, and at this point, I'm the Florida director that's working with a number of counties to work towards having them become constitutional counties. And a lot of folks, I'm sure that the county attorney is going, well, that sounds pretty redundant, because aren't we already constitutional counties? And then that's where we bring up, well, let's take a look at the Second Amendment, and let's take a look at COVID and what happened to the First, the Fifth, the Ninth, the 10th, and the 14th Amendment when that happened. Because a lot of counties say, well, we're a constitutional county, but when I say, well, then how is it that we didn't protect those rights as a county of our people? And how come people suffered tremendous losses through business, through various other issues because of that lack of protection? So it's kind of like Al's reference is kind of like marriage vows. A lot of time when people get married, they're saying their vows and all that, and they're thinking about the honeymoon a lot more than thinking about what they're saying. Anybody have that experience? Well, you might have, but the same thing's true with the Constitution. It's like sometimes we need to be reminded that we gave an oath of office to basically defend and protect the Constitution for all enemies, foreign and domestic. And sometimes we don't necessarily realize how that needs to be done at a city, a county, a state, and a federal level, because each has independent sovereignty, because we're all supposed to be keeping one another in check, according to the 10th Amendment. So one of the things that I would like to suggest to you is that just as you felt the need to protect the Second Amendment, because you saw, I don't know if you go back as far as the 1990s, as the gun grabs that happened under the Clinton administration and things that went on back then, but to date, 61% of the counties and states in America have passed some sort of Second Amendment legislation that says we're going to protect our Second Amendment. Why? Because up until 1934, there'd been no challenge to the Second Amendment. It basically meant that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. But in 1934, there's a thing called the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt decided he was going to have a new deal on crime, where he was going to put forth the first gun control legislation. And the idea was that we were going to now outlaw fully automatic weapons and other things like that under the various acts that are going to go on. And we knew that all the criminals were going to turn those in because obviously outlaws always obey the law, right? And certainly our law-abiding citizens needed to protect themselves, did they? Okay, so that was the beginning of that. Now, to date, there are 300 different federal laws on the books controlling your gun rights, and there's over 3,000 state and local laws and statutes controlling your gun rights to date. Now, let's go forward and talk about what's happened under COVID, okay? When COVID happened, suddenly, I don't know if you did, but I woke up and wondered, am I living in the United States of America anymore? Because now my First Amendment rights are being violated because I'm having to shelter in place. My Fifth Amendment, I'm not having due process as there are people taking away my rights. My Ninth Amendment rights are being taken away along with the 14th Amendment. And the 10th Amendment, the sovereignty of the state or the counties to do something about that seems to be taken away too because we have these presidential mandates and various types of orders that are saying, oh, you need to do this. And the Mack versus Prince case that was in the 1990s basically determined that the federal government has no right to impose upon state or municipalities their programs and expect them to enforce them, especially if they're unconstitutional.
I'm going to interject here now.
Sure.
And I think you did a really good job. So basically, the reason why I brought this forward, and I'll be honest with you, from a COVID perspective, I think Putnam County did a better job than obviously some of our surrounding ones. And now being neighbors to Alachua County makes it pretty easy to get a gold star there. But we did have, and part of the reason why when I talked to Johnny and other people about this, why I wanted to get behind it, was we have communities that border Alachua and things like that. And Melrose is a key example. I remember in 2021, this is at the end of COVID, like COVID's really over. And the fellow commissioner at the time, Jeff Rawls, and I went to dinner after a parade in Melrose, and we were told we had to have our masks on, and that was the county rule. And we're like, 2 of the 5 of us are sitting here. It wasn't a county rule. And I think what this does is it not only addresses the things you said, but also just lets us restate the fact that we are going to stand out separate from certain areas. And I'll say Alachua County, I don't mind saying it, that we're willing to stand out separate from some of the policies and things that they have and support our Constitution and do it in not only action and words. So that's why I want to put this forward, and that's why I brought it to you guys today. And I appreciate the extra thing. I think we do have a majority, we have Constitution people on this board. So I don't know that we need to go into the weeds completely, but I just want to interject that.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation on that.
My pleasure. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And I also brought copies of the various resolutions and ordinances that have been passed in the state of Florida in case you need them.
Well, I'm going to start a commissioner comment, so I appreciate that. But I don't have a problem with some of this, but when reading it, preemption's always on the table with the state legislators. Who's going to enforce this? Am I going to stand up there with a piece of paper and go, the Board of County Commissioners did this? I think this is kind of far-reaching, and I need a lot more information to move this forward. So, Commissioners, how do you feel?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the problem I have with this is not what's trying to be accomplished. That's not my problem with it at all. Just like the Second Amendment thing we went through, I had no issues with that. I voted for it. I ain't sure I didn't make the motion to do it. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying that. But the difference is we started the COVID process with President Trump. We didn't end it with President Trump, but we started it with President Trump. You can look back, hindsight 2020 all you want, but this ain't the same world today we're living in when we were going through it back then. The public was scared. The public was doing things different. Everybody's over it now. Nobody wants to wear a mask. I had people that today you'd have to beat them with a stick to make them put on a mask that wouldn't walk out their house without finding one and putting it on. So you can say what you want looking back at what happened. But my problem with this issue, after reading it and meeting with Mr. Counts and reading it and everything, is I could foresee that we didn't get funding because we bowed up to the federal government over an issue that we shouldn't have bowed up to them about. My problem is what would have happened if we'd have said back then, okay, we're going to be constitutional, we want to sit on our own, we believe in the Bill of Rights, which is true, I do. And they say, okay, well, no problem. Go ahead and stay down there in Putnam County, but we're not sending you your $14 million in ARPA funds because you didn't do what we told you to do. That happens every day. That's not just something I'm dreaming up. When states don't do what the federal government says, they say, okay, no problem at all. You're not getting your $100 billion of money that you can give out to your counties or whatever. That's the problem I have with it. I can't vote for something that I feel like could possibly hamstring the person that's going to start sitting in this seat that's right back there in the back of the room, starting in the end of November. I can't do that to my next people that's going to be sitting here. I just can't do that. And that's what I think is the risk of not being able to apply for or receive federal funding because of a statement that we've made that we're not going to do a certain thing, carte blanche across the system, and that's the problem I have with it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any other commissioner comment? Commissioner Pickens?
I would definitely, like Commissioner or Chairman Harvey, have to do more research. I did meet with Mr. I have read this. I've read the other information before I'd make a decision. And I'm an outgoing commissioner also. So in a month and a half, there's going to be somebody else sitting in this seat. So that does, may determine which way I'd go with that. But I appreciate it being brought to us. But I'm not ready to move this forward right now.
Okay, so we have a majority not ready to go forward.
I have a question for the attorney. Is there
Mr. Adamczak, you have the floor.
something in this that you think precludes us from federal financing or federal? I mean, I don't read this in that way.
Well, you're asking an unknown. When you look under section 2A2 or 2B, it essentially says that you're making a statement, and that's a policy statement of the county, that you're willing to use all funds available to the county to fight any sort of federal unlawful act. Now, the definition of what is an unlawful act, I mean, that's why we have the court system that gets fought out pretty routinely on an everyday basis. But the decision from a policy side as to whether or not you want to make that type of declaration is up to you.
You have a question?
I think that's almost got to be done by the commissioners at the time. And I just don't see how we can make the policy blank statement at this point that we're going to bow up to them about anything, whether we want to or not. I think that needs to be the next people's job and the people after them when they're done.
Mr. Commando, I have a question. What is the real daily legal impact of this resolution? Is there any?
Candidly, I don't know that it does anything. I think, like Commissioner Turner said, I think that if there's a specific issue that comes up, then I think as a commission you would have to discuss it. I think that's why so much of work that's done within the judicial branch and the court system is case specific.
Right. So a county cannot nullify a standard federal action instead of going to court?
Not in my opinion, no. I mean, you can, there's a mechanism by filing a lawsuit where you can challenge it. You can make constitutional challenges. But just because we say something's not true doesn't give it any legal force and effect.
Thank you.
Okay, again, I see a majority not wanting to go forward. Mr. Flagg, you have a comment you'd like to make, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Giving honor to God first and to each of you, our elected and appointed officials. I'm honored and humbled to be able to stand before you on this item. With all due respect to my friend who was a part of the presentation, Bishop Counts, I had 5 questions, and I believe that you all have touched on them. And I just want to make sure that I am on the record just to raise these questions. I'm not seeking an answer, but I just need this to be a part of the discussion. First of all of our freedoms are constitutionally protected. We should not be walking Americans and not recognize that we are protected. It's the people that we elect in office who may have various opinions, and oftentimes those opinions divide us. I'm weary of leaders throughout our nation who seek to divide us. We are the United States of America in title. We have to fix our rough, raw, and raggedy business so that we are truly united. Question 1, what is this Bill of Rights Sanctuary County resolution? Question number 2, why is this resolution necessary? Question number 3, what does this resolution actually do for Putnam County? Question number 4, how does this resolution protect, defend, add value, unite, and support our county as one out of 67 counties? Final question, what are our liability and our adverse legal ramifications? And until the 5 of you can solidly answer those in an affirmative way, I graciously request that this either be tabled or voted down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Again, for the public, there seems to be no majority to go forward, so we're going to end that conversation. Is there any other comments that just desperately need to be made? Sandra Coconut, do you desperately have to make a comment? You can. I mean, I think the horse has died. But please come up. It's a public hearing. We're more than welcome to have you. Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. I just wanted to bring up something else.
Sandra, can you put that right to your...
Labeling...
And you're going to have to state your name and address.
I'm sorry. I'm Sandra Coconut, 117 Point of Woods Trail, Palatka. Giving Putnam County a label of Bill of Rights sanctuary would attract groups and individuals that want to escape the hand or the eye of the federal government. Far right, far left, anarchists, paramilitary, troubled people with assault weapons. It's happened in other states and other counties in Florida, actually. It's not what we want for Putnam County, and it would not attract ecotourists or the families that the business community here wants to bring to Putnam County.
Thank you, Sandra. All right, thank you. We're going to move on. There is no more discussion that needs to take place. Item B under new business, procurement, Pico Road boat ramp replacement. Administration, do you have that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Back in April, we brought to the board several different options to address the damage that Pico Road sustained due to a recent storm. The board authorized staff or directed staff to issue a solicitation to solicit contractors to repair that boat ramp in a pre-storm-like condition. We issued the solicitation. We had 8 different contractors attend the pre-bid, and we had 11 material questions, of which either the contractors were asking for modifications to specifications or contingencies within the specifications. We made allowances for all of them. However, even with the strong participation through the bid cycle, no proposals were received in response to the bid. I did reach out to a number of contractors and asked if there was something that affected their ability to bid based on the scope of work or the information and I received affirmative information from 2 contractors directly that just said they're too busy to mess with a bid of this amount of money. So we had roughly identified $140,000, and to go through a government bid, I had 2 of them tell me they were too busy to respond. So it's back before the board for some direction, so that you can provide staff with a way to go forward.
Ms. Julianne, when I spoke to you and JR and Mr. Suggs about this, I think the consensus in the room was maybe we weren't doing the right boat ramp. Maybe a more floating boat ramp was more appropriate in that area. You want to elaborate on that? Or
So I can. A floating boat ramp, the Pico Road has obviously a lot of volatility in the water level there. A floating boat ramp would, of course, accommodate that. One of the contractors did ask if the county would consider a floating boat ramp, and although the board had initially said it was not their preferred venue, we did modify the bid form to allow for the contractors to submit us an alternative bid of a floating boat ramp. Even with that modification allowing for a floating boat ramp, we still did not have a response by any vendor during that cycle. So we have several different options that just initially are present, I guess black and white options, right? The board can direct me to reissue the solicitation for a second round and to determine whether or not the contractors scope and time and what is on their plates is in a better position for them to respond. Or we could change the solicitation to issue an RFP, which by nature essentially says, you guys are in the dock build industry, here's the area, you bring us your best proposal, whether it's floating, whether it's static, whether it's an improved, that type of thing. Or the third alternative that is black and white at this point based on the criteria that's come back is to waive our county procurement code to some extent, right? We were able to get some quotes, but nobody would participate in the bid cycle. So the board could establish some method or means by which we identify how you want to move forward, or anything else that you'd like to entertain.
Mr. Turner, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think I would appreciate, this is one of the projects that I was putting my discretionary funds towards, and I'd like to see it move forward. I would like to request the board to waive procurement on this and turn it over to me and staff and see if we can't come up with options to bring back to the board for approval. I don't know if it would be to do the RFP and that would be our option. I don't know if it would be, would rather if we could find a couple of people that would give us their options that would bid the thing but just didn't want to do it or a formal bid pretense, that if we could get a couple of options, we could select the best option for the county and bring it back to the board for approval instead of starting all over again. And then I guess Mr. Alexander could worry about it after I'm gone. But I'd like to try to get this moving if we could, not have to wait an extra 2 months and then them decide what's going on. So,
I'm all in favor of that. I think that's your district, and you know that area, and I'm all in favor for that. Commissioner?
not asking for permission to spend the money.
I
I'm
get
just
it. I
asking
get
for
it.
the permission to join with staff and figure out a way to move forward, maybe negotiate with a couple people, and then bring their findings back to the board for approval.
Commissioners, is there any?
Yeah, I agree with that, because it definitely is a project needs to be finished, because the dock's in terrible shape from looking at these pictures. I haven't been down there. And I'm sure that, when the boat's not underwater, probably even when it is, it's used a lot. So I agree to allow Commissioner Turner to to come up with maybe a possible solution.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Second.
Your proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Next is our Public Works request to advertise for a public hearing to vacate a portion of Magnolia Avenue, Bridgeport subdivision. Mr. Stout, do you have that? If you sat closer, it would be a lot of little...
I need my steps on my watch.
Okay, good.
So, yes, this is an undeveloped part of Magnolia Avenue out in Bridgeport in the Bostwick area, and so Public Works has no issue with this road being vacated. There may be, you'll see in the packet, either Clay Electric or FP&L might be requesting utility easement later on if something does occur, but other than that, Public Works has no issue with the vacate.
Is this an improved road, or is it just...
No, it's completely
even done?
undeveloped, nothing going on.
Nothing, okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Oh, I guess you got to call for public input. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll do that now. Is there any public input on...
Yes, there is a gentleman.
Anybody want to speak on that? Okay, good. Then we have proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Mr. Suggs, you have the next item, correct? Or Mr. Suggs, Mr. Grimes?
I'll help you out with that, sir.
Okay.
This is brought to you guys as an emergency procurement, following our emergency procurement guidelines. Immediately following that action, then we will bring to you the item before the next board meeting. I'll turn it over to Mr. Grimes to give you an update on the situation.
I appreciate it, but I think we've already heard from JR on the thing. I just want to say before I make this motion that I appreciate what went on here. When they found out they had an emergency situation and it could affect all the water in the East Palaca water system over there, they jumped on it, worked tirelessly, and got a solution as quick as they could. This worked like it's supposed to, not like typical government works, to where we're in January with a shutdown in water, saying, well, I'm sorry, I've been trying to get a generator since last September. So I want to commend JR, JT, Scott, all the guys that worked on this, probably Dana, is that her name? Myra.
Kayla. Kayla.
Kayla.
I just can't do it, sorry, Kayla. But I want to just say that I appreciate what went on here. It was done like it was supposed to be done, and with that, I make the motion, we approve this emergency item.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it.
Mr.
Next.
Chairman, can I just say one word about that?
Yes.
Is I'd like to thank our local folks out there that actually worked on this. I made contact back during Hurricane Irma. We had a huge emergency in a lift station down on River Street in Palatka, and nobody could get it fixed. And we called this fella, and he was down there in 15, 20 minutes and had the generator back up and running. I called him in a frantic mess. He left his job where he was working with his crew at a paper mill in Brunswick, Georgia, and loaded his crew up, started at 5 o'clock, drove back to East Palatka to get started. They pulled it out. They found out what was wrong with it. He actually did all the legwork, found one in Louisiana. There was one in the United States that was bought directly from the manufacturer. So it was just a great team effort, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we had some local participation that really, really helped us in the project.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. And it's a wonderful thing to see everybody working together. So, okay, next item, sanitation.
I'll take that one too if
Yes,
you
sir.
want me to.
Please do, sir.
We wrecked a truck.
Where was that wreck at?
We got.
Where was that wreck at?
It was here in the county.
District 1.
It was District 1.
Of course it was in District 1. That's where the equipment always is. If anything's going to get wrecked, it's got to get wrecked in District 1.
Don't start, he'll want his roads
Or
prepaved.
coming to and from District 1, one or the other. No, you started, Mr. Chairman.
I did. I'm sorry. A little levity never hurt any situation.
Okay, so we wrecked the truck. We got to replace it. The truck's going to get an insurance thing on it later on, but we don't know exactly what it is yet. But we've still got to buy a new truck. Jay was very diligent and went out and found one. We need to go on and get it right now because it's got us in a bad spot at sanitation, losing that truck. So it's another emergency item.
So
You wanna
Commissioner, the
add
only
something?
update is that as of yesterday, we did get the insurance payout, and it's going to be $255,000.
So it's going to cost us $6,000.
Yes, sir.
Move approval, Mr.
I
Chairman.
think we have proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you all very much for
Now,
this.
Jay, if you want to say something, I'll ask the chairman to let you come up here.
All right, we're going to move on to our public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect the board will engage in debate or deliberations about matters on which the board have received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Commissioner Wilkinson will be keeping time. Public comment cards are conveniently placed at the meeting room entrance and should be submitted to our deputy clerk to my left, Miss Ashley, and to your right. So our first, Nancy Purifoy, would like to come up and speak. And I went to school with Ernest Purifoy. Your brother, okay. At Palatka Central High School.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Purifoy.
I thank you for taking time to listen to my request. I have a request, your assistance.
Could you speak right into the microphone? You got a very soft voice, so
No, thank you. I don't like you.
that's good.
But yes, I am asking for assistance. My name is Nancy Purifoy, and I stay on East Oak, Palatka. And I need assistance in my neighborhood on East Oak and Magnolia, actually the whole neighborhood, and I would appreciate it very much if you would take time to assist me in these issues. The neighborhood we live in is not up to par, and I would be ashamed to have people to come in the neighborhood. I got an agenda here, but I'm nervous, but I just
Fine.
want to say what's on my heart.
Say what's on your heart, Miss Purifoy.
And it needs help. We're not living in a dump. We pay property taxes out there. People don't keep their properties clean. And it needs to be a fine because you have, I won't say tigers, lions, and bears, but we do have animals snakes and everything else out there. And I wish that y'all would help me or come and look and give me the time to explain what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be as patient as I can. And I know that the neighborhood, not just that, it's the roads. I know you're aware of East Lake Street. We just got it fixed this year. It's been 8 years since that road was down. And we just, I don't know whether you're aware of Margaret Ellington. She's fighting hard for it. She's my neighbor. But we need the roads. We have trucks, semi-trucks, Putwood trucks that's tearing the roads up. I know that we don't have money to fix these things, but they could be avoided before. And if you would just please hear us out in the neighborhood. I'm speaking for my neighborhood. And we need the properties clean. They dumping. I'm not living in a landfill. I pay property taxes. And it's like a landfill out there. You can't even walk to the stores. Every corner, people dumping. You can't walk to the stores. Who feel goods out there? Nobody would want to live out there. And it's sad. You can see, and I commend the city. The city is doing wonderful with their works. But the county needs help.
Thank you, Ms. Purifoy. Thank you for your comments.
Thank
you. Are you, Ms. Purcell, are you located within the city?
I'm in the county.
In the county.
I've been here with this issue before.
Right.
Over a year, about a year, I've been here with this issue, and we have no results.
Ms. Purifoy, I remember going out to Towles Road in that area and having a cleanup out in that area and speaking with the Sheriff's Department, and they actually had helped with some cleanup out there as well. So I have no problem with meeting you out on site. You can contact me. I'll give you my card.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I'll be glad to get out there and physically see what you're referring to, and if there's any way we can help.
Please.
Yes,
if
ma'am.
You want to give me the card now?
I think I might have one. Let me look.
I don't. Towles is across the highway, but I'm in the area that you can't even walk to the store without a dump here and a dump there.
Ms. Purifoy, while she's bringing you your card, let me assure you that I know it's bad in your area, and it's bad all over Putnam County. People just feel like they can just dump on anybody's property right now. They can drive down the road and throw it out. They didn't get raised by the same daddy I got raised by. I'll tell
Me
you that.
neither.
So, but it's a shame that we have to go out there and pick up somebody else's garbage because they're too lazy to go to a receptacle and put it in. And that's what happens. And I'll give you a true story that happened. I did many, hundreds of cleanups in West Putnam. And I was probably 5 miles from my house cleaning up a road, and a gentleman stood at the gate and said, "You missed a spot over there." And I said, "You know what? You need to come out here and help." I was hot and tired and bothered, and that was the last thing that man needed to say to me.
It's sad because we only get garbage pickup, yard trash every 2 weeks.
That's correct.
But when I clean my yard, and in the morning, I got trash out in my yard.
I know, it's sad. Mr. J.R. Grimes would like to address something. So
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Grimes?
There's two ladies here earlier that we gave our card to, and I'd be happy to give you mine. I met with Colonel Wells, Mr. Tilton, is we're going to have a little community meeting up there, invite Commissioner Wilkinson, and sit down and figure out what the issues are. We'll address them, whether we need to do a community-wide cleanup. Colonel Wells actually committed some inmate labor to go through there and try to help clean up the neighborhood. So there is a plan in place. I'll get you my card in just a second as soon as I leave here, and then we'll get a community meeting set up together, and
I would appreciate it.
We'll start addressing it.
Thank you.
You know, one thing I've learned in my trash pickup life is trash attracts trash. So if we can get rid of it, maybe it doesn't attract too much trash.
You don't want me to talk about the trash in the neighborhood. That's a whole nother story, but.
Thank you, Ms. Purifoy. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other public comments on miscellaneous items? And seeing none, our clerk of the court is not with us today. County Attorney, Mr. Rich Commando.
Nothing today, thank you, sir.
County Administrator, Mr. Suggs.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I got 2 or 3 things this morning. First of all, thank you to the Port Authority, not the Board of County Commissioners, but the Port Authority. for moving the LOI forward this morning and giving us the approval to move forward with a negotiation of a lease. I think that's going to be very prudent moving forward for that area out there, so looking forward to doing that. Also, just want to piggyback a little bit on Commissioner Wilkinson's comments this morning about the amount of rain that we've had and the damage that we've felt throughout the county. You know, it's affected a lot of us, and a lot of us personally. And so, just want to say that Public Works has done a tremendous job trying to get out there and find a solution and a resolution to the issues out there. And sometimes we get criticized for the things that we don't do, but this is one of those times I'm going to recognize someone for the things that they did do. We've taken a little bit of heat with the way that we've got things set up here, but there's a reason why we do the things we do and how we do it. Yesterday was a prime example. Not only do we have Public Works out there trying to do everything we can to get the road repaired and open for the citizens, but you got your deputy administrator, Mr. Grimes, out there running a piece of equipment. That's the type of teamwork and effort that your staff puts out there for their citizens. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Grimes personally for that, as well the Public Works staff for what they've done to get that open and back to being able to use for those folks out there. Tremendous job, and a job well done. Thank you, Mr. Grimes, and to your staff at Public Works. Lastly, Chairman Harvey and I met with Ms. Beth Payne yesterday for the Northeast Regional Council. A lot of the information that we got yesterday is really, or received yesterday, is really not public. So I'd like to make a little bit of a public here today. We pay about $30,000 a year for membership for the Northeast Regional Council. And so this is a report that we got yesterday. It's about a 39-to-1 return on our investment. One of the things that a lot of folks don't realize is that this is a county process. It's a county project that we do with the Northeast Regional Council. It's our contract that we have with them, our membership and dues. But each one of the municipalities gets to participate in that because of what the county does. Every municipality. And one of the things that we got yesterday was an update of completed projects. And I promised Ms. Payne I'd read this today, and I'd like to do that now. Of our municipalities, Palatka Historic Property Survey grant of $31,500 came through the Northeast Regional Council. Palatka had a visioning plan. The Hope Grant was completed. A lot of that was Mr. Sullivan working with Mr. Boyd Thompson. We had the updated Pomona Parks Comprehensive Plan, technical planning assistance for the town of Pomona Park, and then our own ERA, or EAR, our appraisal report as well. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with the Northeast Regional Council that benefits not just us here at the dais for Putnam County, but all of our municipalities as well. And I think that needs to be stated, the work that's done by the council, and those things are actually paid for and brought to the community by you five as Board of County Commissioners. So thank you on behalf of Putnam County, but also of each one of the municipalities that took advantage of it this year and had great work done. So Mr. Chairman, I know you sit on that board, and I believe Mr. Adamczak does as well, Commissioner Adamczak, so thank you both for that. The one other housekeeping type business that we need to do, and I spoke to me about this yesterday as well, as we've got two commissioners that sit, we currently have two commissioners that sit on the Regional Council Board. Chairman Harvey is one, and again, Commissioner Adamczak, but we're going to be having a changing, so to speak. We're going to have Commissioner Adamczak who will be stepping down in November. We do have a meeting that's coming up in October, so I wanted to bring that discussion to the board here this morning. I've spoken briefly to Commissioner Adamczak about it this morning. So what will need to happen is we're going to need to have a changing of the commission representation on that board, and we can either do it here today or next meeting, but we're going to need to do something to have a representation on the council moving forward.
When's your next meeting?
The next meeting is in October. Yes, sir.
You want to still do it till then? You're just going to still be here till November the 19th.
Okay, just bringing it to the council attention that we're going to need to make some changes in the near future. So, however my council would like to handle that, that's fine. I'll just pass it out to Ms. Payne once we do the changing of the seat. And also, there's one more seat that we're going to have to work on for them, and it's a municipal rep And so talked to Ms. Payne about that yesterday as well, and we'll look to do something like that sometime around January.
Good,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Commissioner comments? Commissioner Adamsack.
I have none.
Commissioner Pickens.
Thank you, Chairman Harvey. I just wanted, to continue the accolades for Public Works, for all our employees, emergency services, planning, zoning, everything. But, Public Works is with all this rain, what y'all are having to take care of, and it's all districts. I was really not pleasantly surprised when I went home yesterday and there was only 4 inches of rain that dumped in Fruitland. I can't say that I've seen those ditches that full in well over a year. And I've had at least 11 inches of rain at my house in Georgetown. So the drainage issues everywhere. And road issues, roads start coming apart when we have this type of rain. So I just want to appreciate all the efforts that y'all have put in. It's probably definitely better that Deputy Administrator Grimes was operating that piece of equipment rather than Chairman Harvey. But I'm sure he could do it also. So, and I also really want to commend Colonel Joe Wells, the Sheriff's Department, really to sing out Joe Wells. I got a text from Joe probably 3 weeks ago, and Joe was participating with, I'm sure, some of our staff in the ride-arounds to check the signal for our new communications towers and everything. And he just happened to be in District 1, and he did a little undercover work, and he identified that there was excessive amounts of Public Works equipment in District 4, and that he alerted me and staff so we could get that situation corrected. And Joe, I
He
just want to
also
commend
alerted
you.
me too that it was.
So anyway, Joe, it's always good to have a little bit of fun, but thank you for everything that you do, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Turner.
Mr. Chairman, that's almost exactly what I was going to say, except for we don't have any equipment in District 3 because it's all down there. But I was going to, and I will reiterate but probably not as eloquently as Commissioner Pickens is able to do it. But, for all of us who were around here 7 years ago, the difference of what goes on around here around 7 years ago is unbelievable. It's something that I never thought that even I would see, and I had all the ambition of trying to make it better. Every department we got right now is clicking. Is every single employee happy? No. We got 1,000. You think you're going to make them all happy? You're fooling yourself. But I'll bet the percentage is so much higher now than it was 7 years ago, it's not even comparable. Our department heads, our staff, everybody is just stepped up the game around here to a point that I'm proud of them. I really am. Are we going to have problems? You bet you. Every single day. This is the government. It's never going to stop. But if it's handled nicely or handled correctly or the best that can handle it, and having compassion to the people, which we do when we can. And so, yeah, I was going to say the same thing as Commissioner Pickens. I'm pretty proud of our staff and our departments right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilkinson.
I can completely concur with both of my colleagues driving through the district in that area and seeing our public works out there working hard. They had a supervisor that was having to use a piece of equipment, and they were going to stay till the road was fixed and they could open it back up that day, and it was like 4:30. So they were already past 3 o'clock or whatever time they normally
Probably
are.
would have been done earlier if they hadn't had to bring the equipment in from District 1.
Well,
to
there's
fix
that
it.
part. Yeah, you're right. But anyway, I couldn't agree more that they are doing a great job, and the hundreds of work orders they've had to deal with in the last couple days has been, they can't get to everybody, but they are trying to put out as many fires and get as much done as they can. We have a great staff on that. I just want to mention the community paramedicine program is about to be hopefully out on the street for some looking at staff and up and running in the very near future. So I'm excited about that and the opportunities that's going to bring to Putnam County and helping the citizens in Putnam County. And then I just wanted to ask regarding St. John's Harbor water, Mr. Grimes, how do you feel like that's going forward? I've only received a couple complaints about billing and that kind of stuff, but I just want us to have a general conversation about how we're doing out there.
Sure. So we're moving forward. one day at a time.
Right.
You guys are doing the transfer of some funds, I think the 5:05 this afternoon, so we can really start working on some of the initiatives that have been set forth. They did the last billing, so right now, currently, our billing staff is manually entering all the stuff into our system because our system does not work with theirs, so we got to set up accounts for them so that we can do the next billing. Part of the transfer of the funds is we're going to actually go through a water meter retrofit, which gets the water meters into the same system as the ones we're currently using so that we don't have to manually read, because they're having to manually read every single 168 meters up there. So that's in process now.
I thought you had somebody that would read them for you for like $100.
We do. We're working through that process too, is trying to get that. But the more we look at that process, I know that process is right. Everybody's getting it billed for a minimum usage, which I don't know that that's accurate meter reading. So I'd rather get on a program that we actually get what the citizens are paying for. And if they're using overconsumption, they should pay more than the person that's, watching what they use. So that portion of it's moving forward. We've got one of the high service pumps that needs to be changed, which we knew that going in. That'll be done. We're working with Mr. Knowles, who's going to write us up a scope of work on what needs to be done with the retention area or the rib that for the wastewater, because it's considered industrial waste when it comes off an RO plant. So they're working through that. Ms. Wiley has done some things right at the very beginning, so it is starting to come together. I know that I talked to Commissioner Wilkinson yesterday, and we sent out a generic letter, but at that point, that's really all we know is generic.
Right.
We really don't know what the whole operation of this thing is until we dive into it, and right now we're dove into it. So we're working through day in and day out of the issues that are going to come up day by day in the plant. Right now, everything's okay. I'd like to knock on wood because everything we've touched lately has fallen completely apart. But right now, everything is okay. So the transition has happened. We're working on the other little objects, loose ends here and there that will get put back together. So, but we need to start doing some things, and we can't do anything until after 5:05 today. So that's really going to help, and we can really go to work next week when we actually have an operation where we can go to work.
Right.
So,
Well, and that's one of those things that, was additional, right? When we started the beginning of the year, we didn't know we were going to be taking this over. So, when we work as a team and we've got all the best intentions and everything laid out as to what we're going to accomplish in the year, then things are getting thrown at us, and you guys particularly. And so then we have to adjust and still move forward, and you guys have done a good job on that. And then I just wanted to mention that we're also we are working on a project, the North Drainage District project, which is out in the same community, in the Bostwick community. I've been getting a lot of questions on that. And you want to just touch on that a little bit?
sure. Mr. Stout would probably be a little bit more educated on it than I am. I know they have reached out to an engineering firm to start the process to Mr. Knowles, I think, gave a scope of work, and they're putting a plan together now. But
This is just really to give the citizens and the board a little bit of an update.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, so we've reached out to Sequoia Engineering in Grove and given them a scope of work. We're waiting to hear back, hopefully by Thursday is the email that I got on Saturday, that they'll have a price for us, the design for the North Putnam drainage that would include Palmetto Bluff from Milliken Road all the way to Cedar Creek, and then all of Milliken Road, West River Road to Palmetto Bluff.
Right. And then what we want to do, what I've mentioned to you, is that we would have some public input, set up a
Correct.
meeting out there, and the community center have some public input to see where citizens have concerns at, and then.
Yes, once we have Sequoia officially on board and contracted for design, then we'll meet, we'll go with Commissioner Wilkinson, have a community meeting, and see what the citizens have to say, because they've been watching the water for
That's
a long
right.
time.
That's what.
So
that's
it's some
the
good
point.
input for the engineering.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you for giving that update.
ma'am.
And other than that, I just wanted to mention again that we have the different events going on tomorrow at 9/11. Thank you.
Thank you. JR, did you have a comment you'd like to make?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Pickens mentioned it a second ago, so I wanted to kind of give an update about the communication system. That was an undertaking you guys took back when the ARPA came through, that it was a really heavy lift. And I'm proud to say today that the units are up on a 700 and 800 megahertz state-of-the-art system. We're going to do a presentation to you guys, but I just wanted to let you know that the two systems are patched together right now. The folks in fire rescue, law enforcement still working on getting some installs that are mobile radios in their patrol cars, but that project's moving forward. It's in the home stretch. It's about done, and that was I started here in September of 2020 and been working on it constantly since 2020. So that thing has hit its final. We're over the last hurdle. We're we're touching up now. We got one antenna left to put up at Boswick, and we're going to do an antenna swap and down in the Huntington area. As we went through it, the mapping and all showed that we would have some weaknesses in some areas, but we had an antenna that would work, and that was shipped here, and it was purely a luck of the draw. It's here, so it's going to get changed out, but we've got to do a little bit of work with the FCC. But other than that, the system is up and running, and I would just like to thank the board. That's probably one of the best things you could have done for our law enforcement folks out there, fire rescue. I would encourage you, and I'll bring a portable in the room when we get ready to do it so you guys can actually hear the difference of the radio quality versus what we have dealt with for the past 30 years. So I'd just like to thank you guys, but it is up and running. I just want to let the board know that that project is in the final stages.
Thank you. You know, as Commissioner Turner said earlier, you know, that wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have had the federal dollars to make sure it happened. And probably one of the most disturbing meetings I was in as a county commissioner in my career was listening to a deputy right back here in Rolling Hills trying to contact dispatch that he needed help, and he couldn't get through. And that's just right down the road. And that's so sad. And there's nothing worse than our law enforcement, our first responders, when you're asked to rush to a scene that you cannot communicate. And that should not be acceptable. So I appreciate all that. And I want to echo something too. I know some areas of the county has had a lot of rain. We finally in the West End started getting some rain in the last week. We've had about 7 inches.
I wish I could send you some.
Yeah, not every day. But truly, if you came out to the West End, you would see the water tables are still dramatically low out there. So, I mean, it's Putnam County, we do need rain. I could use another probably 5 feet of rain alone in my lake. I'm mowing where I usually never mow. It usually has 4 feet of water, and I'm mowing there. So I know some areas get a lot, some areas don't, but truly, you know, the water tables are not up to where they need to be. I do want to thank our staff, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. You know, when you walk back there in the back room, and just like Commissioner Wilkinson just alluded to, things get handed to us, thrown at us. I mean, sometimes shot at us, if you will, and don't mean that literally. But you don't expect to take over a water plant. It's not in our budget to do that. You don't expect to deal with the problems that we have to deal with. And every day they walk in wondering what fire they got to put out today. What thing is going to be given to them. Not let alone what the public wants, let alone what the 5 commissioners want. You know, and they come to work daily to solve that little problem that you probably think they're not even paying attention to me, and they're in the back room talking about it. That's what's impressive to me as a county commissioner, and I appreciate that you take the time to study, to find a solution, and we have some really quality, quick thinking, common sense people in our administration who are getting the job done throughout the staff. And I appreciate that. I think, Scott Knowles, you need to triple yourself, because I keep hearing your name over and over again. I don't know when you're going to sleep, but that's your business. But we appreciate everything that Public Works and everybody does. And that's the end of my comments. We do have a 2 o'clock workshop, and we'll reconvene this meeting at 5:05. So this meeting is now recessed till 5:05.
Thank you.